always boils down to stand your ground law. Just so you know about stand your ground law, you always had the right to self-defense. You always had the right to take a life in self-defense. Stand your ground laws did not give you that right. The Magna Carta gave you that right. What stand your ground laws did was relieve you of an obligation to retreat from the conflict before it came to that. And it seemed to me that's the state saying, we now have decided there are worse outcomes than a dead body. And I don't know when that happened. That's not the country I'm living in. And if you are, in fact, valuing the sacredness of human life, that should be a point at which you want to stop the conversation. One of the things they do invariably is say Luke 22:36. I'm getting really good at this scripture thing. And in Luke 22:36, it's Gethsemane. They're going to take him, Jesus, to crucify him. Peter pulls out a sword and cuts off a Roman soldier's ear. And Jesus says, put that sword away. He who lives by the sword dies by the sword. That's what leads up to this. And then he says, okay, you guys will be traveling. You're not going to have my protection anymore. If you don't have a sword, sell your cloak and buy a sword. So, well, first of all, a sword as a stand-in for a gun is a very, very iffy proposition. And, you know, with that guy in the bar, we had a long conversation about whether a knife was as deadly as a gun, and it was so disingenuous and stupid. But anyway, beyond that, they always cite Luke 22:36 as justification. He's saying you should protect yourself. He's saying you should have a gun. But Luke 22:38, I didn't bother to go look at the lines because I just took it on faith. They were telling me something that was true. And then I decided to go look at it in context. Luke 22:38 says, Peter tells him, I already have a sword. In fact, I have two. And Jesus says, oh, well, don't get any more. That's enough. It's a gun control scripture. It is astonishing. One of the things Rob says is if you want to read the Bible, you got to read it against yourself. You have to read the Bible against yourself. You don't go looking in the Bible for a reason to continue doing what you're doing. We have a permanent conflict that is unresolvable. And what I know about perpetual conflict or insoluble conflict is you choose to inhabit the conflict differently. You start to understand the conflict as the ground you live on, and you're not fighting to get to some ideal space on the other side of it. And once you make that mental shift, then the ground rules change and everybody becomes a little more civilized, I think.